I'm gonna tell you a story, but the first thing I have to understand is time doesn't work the way you think it does. You can call me Oracle, I'm the one to talk to you. Welcome to the call. Alright. Still got a little bit of little dims going on there, but I'm just gonna move on for now. So, what I did with this one is calling back to Exalted. So, in Exalted, there's this thing called the Book of Exalted Power. It's basically got a lot of backstory, and it references a lot about what happened with the Great Foretelling Aftermath in terms of how exactly the sidereals more or less managed to pull off getting all the solars killed, because frankly it's something the sidereals more or less had to make happen because no one else could have pulled it off. But it also includes a lot about sidereal astrology, which is essentially geotosha. It's essentially astrology that's used with an eye of aligning your actions on Earth to do like sorcery with using the constellations as sort of like a power source, more or less. So they are the five constellations that they reference are or 25 are separated by the 5 planets, or 5 of the planets in the solar system. So in the House of Journeys, which is under Mercury, there's the captain, Nyaka, the gull, Devati, the mast, Potabali, the messenger, Prayogya, and the ship's wheel, Potakakra. In the that would be the Gaia Yatra, the House of Journeys. In the Gaia Prati, the House of Endings, there's the corpse, the Zaba, the crow, Kakola, the Haywain, which is basically like the accident, Viapad, the rising spoke, Rohin Duma, and the sword, the Kaga. In the Gaia Nirbrat, the House of Serenity, there's the Ur, the Virata, the lovers, Ramana and Kamini. I chose 2 famous lovers for that one because there isn't a lot of like whatever. It has to do with like the word lovers in Sanskrit and my lack of ability to find the specific word for it. I was able to find like the 10 states of lovers, but I wasn't able to find lovers. Just that. It was odd. So, I settled. But the musician, Varin, the peacock, Meari, Meir, either one, near as I can tell, and the pillar, Vali. There is the House of Battles, Gaia Yuda. The banner, Ketu, the gauntlet. There isn't a word for gauntlet, so I went with iron hand covering. Ayagola Vesta. The quiver, Goli. The shield, Kavakara. And the spear, Prasa. And then House of Secrets, Gaia Rahasya. The guardians, Antu and Gopa. The key, Kushkika. The mask, Varnika. The sorceress, Sita. And the treasure trove, Kozakara. Interesting thing about the Varnika in terms of Exalted. So, with this, essentially, I did the various names of the constellations as CD, as constellations. Mana Sambayate, like Awaken for Mana. So, like, whatever, there's that. Not really the point, actually. The point, actually, is that with the mask, apparently, with the mask and mages in World of Darkness, what the mages did back in the First Age essentially is directly responsible for the arcane background in mage. And it more or less says it. It refers to it as the arcane fate. Basically, the mask allowed them to be stealthy, but what they did they basically poured too much mana into the mask, and the mask ended up breaking because enough people had to know that it was really came back to not the dragon blooded, but the soul, but the sidereals killing the solars. So essentially, they poured too much mana into a shared power, and it ended up breaking. And it created basically like reality after they decided to murk the solars was like, you all need to learn how to behave. And that ended up being the shattering of the mask, which turned into the arcane fate, which basically made it essentially easier for the mages to all just disappear. It made it easier for essentially for the arcane background to become a flaw rather than like a benefit, because it was actually supposed to be the equivalent for the sidereals of the exalted curse, like their equivalent of the great curse, which is what drove them to effectively murder the solars, was the arcane fate, which is, well, you know what, you're going to murder these people instead of helping them. You are doomed to obscurity, y'all. Have no fun with that. Wow. That's what happens when you're supposed to be working for fate and you decide to freelance and murk the people you're supposed to be helping. This is Oracle, I'm gonna sing myself out. Dream safely out there in the wave all throughout. And if you're gonna be a steward to some, do right by they and don't do like them Pasaderials being dumb. 'Cause, quite frankly, they chose poorly. And that's all I'll say for now. From Oracle me to all of you now.